Welcome for this presentation about ESP32 porting status on Nuttx. I am Ricardo and I work as a software manager at Expressive. This is a quote from Theo Srian, our CEO, on EE Times about Expressive and open source, which shows our will to contribute to such projects. This is another quote from Ivan, our VP of Software Platforms, about open source and what brought him to Expressive. This quote can be found at People at Expressive page on our website. Expressive has already been contributing to open source projects. We have ESP32, which is our flagship tool. It's open sourced, it's on GitHub. Everyone can check there, can see code, can understand how we do things. But a little bit differently from a regular open source experience, ESP32 is a project that we we glue together a lot of components to create an IoT development framework and offer that to customers. They're all open sourced, we contribute back, we're in accordance to open source practice, but this is a little bit different from traditional open source experience, which is contributing to open source projects on the open source community. So because of that, the company decided that, well, we should be participating more on open source projects. So in April 2020, the third-party frameworks or third-party platforms was created. We have several open source projects that we contribute to. More importantly, Nuttx, Zephyr, and Mcu Boot. The location of this team is in Brazil, in the city of Campinas. But we do collaborate with all other Expressive offices, and we do have some remotes all over the place and literally all over the world. So besides understanding the team working on open source projects and the third-party platforms that we discussed, it's also important to notice that currently available for purchasing and put into products, we only have ESP32, ESP32S2, and ESP32C3. I know that we have a lot of other announcements that will come in time. That's why we're here on this presentation. But it's important to understand that most of our current work revolves around these three devices. Now that we understand a little bit about the background, let's check what was actually done since April when the team was formed. So when we were starting to planning our support on our devices, we decided that, well, we have to come up with some strategy because ESP32 is a full-feature device. There are a lot of features to it, but we understand that there are features that come first. So we started with a plan. First things first, we must have the CPU ported because without the CPU there is nothing. Second, it's a Wi-Fi MCU after all. So a Wi-Fi MCU that doesn't do Wi-Fi that has little to offer of differentiation to the market. And right after that, we decided that we need at least some basic peripherals like UART and GPIO. We also took into consideration that with Wi-Fi and GPIO, that's enough for example, create a light bulb, so you can already start doing some IoT application with that. And of course, after the basic peripherals, we will give support to more advanced peripherals, more specific peripherals that are not as common or as used as the others. And also important to say that it's part of our strategy to blend in the communities that we are joining. So the idea is that we not only work on Expressive device, but we help the community to thrive. And also that we are going to abide by the community rules, by the coding standards, by the coding quality and everything. The idea is we want to add and to multiply instead of just imposing or anything like that. So it's part of our goal to blend with the communities we're joining. This is a small list of supported peripherals on ESP32. As you can see, we support a lot of them. We also have some points here. One important point is the Wi-Fi subsystem. Since we're always improving and upgrading and making it better, it's most likely going to be a work in progress like forever. We also have another important thing to notice is the dynamic frequency scaling that we have on ESP-IDF. So this is something that we think it's important. And finally, to notice here in this list, we have the ULP, which is something we still are under evaluation on how we're going to support that on Nuttx. ESP32S2 is a work in progress. We just recently released the CPU support. Some things to consider here is that differently from the ESP32, ESP32S2 ULP is a RISC-V core. So the work we have to do here for supporting this is a little bit different. It also doesn't feature Bluetooth, so the support is going to be a little bit reduced. But it also supports USB on the go, which is the differentiation from ESP32, from ESP32C3, and from ESP32, regular ESP32. And finally, this is the list for ESP32C3. Its support is as completed as the support for the regular ESP32. And this is still a work in progress, and just like ESP32, Wi-Fi is always being refactored. And we do have more support than ESP32 and somewhere in the middle between ESP32 and ESP32S2. So on those tables, everything that's marked on red it's there, it's on the repository, it can be used on products, it can be debugged, tested, and well, the users can make use of it. But what we're currently working on. So currently the first topic is of no secret to everyone. We're working to improve the ESP32S2 support. We understand that we have to bring all devices to the same level of support at least. Second to that, we're working on firmware update and some features that we have on ESP32 like flash encryption. We also want to work with secure boot and safe update. So currently we are putting a lot of energy on this update and boot security features, as to say. This is our current work in progress. When we said that we were working on community projects, we took that seriously. So we're bringing Mcu Boot to Nuttx. Unfortunately, there are some changes on Nuttx side for all other devices for them to be compatible on Nuttx. Also, there is some work that must be made on the Mcu Boot porting for those devices, but at least the path is already set, so anyone can just take what we did and make similar approaches, so we can see more support on Mcu Boot and Nuttx. We're also working on flash encryption, like I said before, on secure boot, and currently it's our target to improve the ESP32S2 supports not only the peripherals, but all the other things we're providing for the other chips. So diving a little bit into ESP32S2, current work in progress, it's the peripherals that are listed in blue on this table. So we expect to be working on them. The schedule for their release is going to be along this quarter and the next quarter. And we expect that by the end of this year, the current release devices will be on the same level of support. Diving a little bit into Mcu Boot, first, as far as I know, ESP32 is the first device that can combine Nuttx and Mcu Boot. Also, we have some push requests pending on the Mcu Boot community. Some of them might be already accepted by the time of this presentation. We already have some push requests for ESP32 and ESP32S2, and we have a push request, a work in progress for ESP32C3. We are also developing some tutorials and some user guides. We already have published in Portuguese language a tutorial on how to build Mcu Boot for ESP32, and we already provide a Nuttx application, a pre-compiled application to run with it. Just one quick update, as I stated in the previous slide, that it could be the case that ESP32 support could be already be accepted on Mcu Boot by the time we're doing this talk. Well, that happened, and now officially we have ESP32 being supported by Mcu Boot. And along with that, we do have that example with Nuttx, so we can all enjoy it. So we have just seen the background about the teamwork on the project and our philosophy. We also discussed what we have done and what is completed, and actually it's there. It's already on the repository for ESP32 and the other devices. And we also have seen our work in progress. Now I would like to give some spoilers on what we're going to do once the current work is completed. But this is not only for ESP32, but we can say that this is for the ESP32 family of devices. So let me address first by far the most asked question that we get into this project, which is if we're going to keep supporting ESP32 family of devices. This question comes up when we discuss with customers, when we discuss with the community, when we do presentations, so it's almost everywhere. So yes, we do plan that. We plan to keep working on it. We keep to plan at the team. By the way, we created the team for that sense, so yes, we do plan on that. Usually, I explained about ESP-IDF because it's our flagship tool, but more important than that, it's where everything begins. So we should expect seeing devices first being supported on ESP-IDF, and then later, after that, we get inspired by that code, and then we write support for other systems as well. So yes, we do have that plan, and like I said, we first have to see those devices on ESP-IDF first. So on our end, once the chip is out, we start supporting it, and more specifically, we're talking here about ESP32S3, ESP32C6, and the recently discovered ESP32H2. So in case anyone have missed it, and also to make sure the message is clear and to reinforce that message, it is our long-term goal to support ESP32 family devices, not only ESP32, S2, and C3. We just talked about them because they were the first to be available for general public. The others are still in development. So when they get launched, again, we're going to support them on IDF, then we start our port. It's also to notice that just like Wi-Fi, we will keep improving the support on our devices more on stability and bug fixes and all of that. We do have plans to keep doing it, and there is no reason to stop doing it. Also, it's our goal to contribute to the community that we're in. So for example, we figured that we were working on Mcu Boot for Zephyr, and we saw that there are some requests on the community for Mcu Boot support on Nuttx. So we decided, well, we can take that, we can do that, and it's there. Like I said, it's now open for other manufacturers to contribute to this project as well. So yes, community is something that we are working on, and we are going to keep working on, and focused on ESP32, of course, but that's the beauty of open source. We can make it better for everyone. So we gave a little bit of future background, our philosophy about open source, which I don't expect to change anytime soon. So on that sense, now let's dive a little bit into more details. We will be working, like I said, on the Wi-Fi. It's a work in progress, like forever work in progress, because there is a lot of room to improve and a lot of new protocols to support. We also are going to work on some more advanced peripherals that we are missing, like the dynamic frequency scaling, like CAN and SDIO. And we also have intention to figure how we're going to support the ULP. Currently, all ULP support is through IDF. We can think about it and make it better for Nuttx. And finally, but not least, we plan to update and keep up to date and improve our Mcu Boot support, as there are some features that we don't support yet, and we think them as important features, especially because they are security related. So this is most likely what's on the under planning stage on support for Q1 next year. I'd like to thank everyone to attend to this talk, and I hope that it makes you feel more comfortable and confident on your next project by using and adopting ESP32 and Nuttx. Thanks again, and bye-bye.